All right, John. Cheers,
Cool.
mate. All the best.
No worries. Thanks, Will.
All right. And thanks for watching.
Want me to look at that camera?
It's too late.
I'm looking at the fucking camera.
Too late now.
Too late.
Say I got a one-track mind that I just wanna have a grind with you. I don't wanna marry you, I just wanna get through you. I am a rabbit, I got to have it. It was of habit, I like to share my carrot with you.
Hi, my name is Will, and welcome to the Distorted Transmission for today. I am talking to a band, or one of the guys from a band called Proud Scum. Proud Scum, a band that, although short-lived, existed at exactly the right time to concrete itself as one of the immortalized Auckland punk bands on the AK-79 compilation, which, for those who don't know, is basically a compendium of the New Zealand punk scene in or around 1979. I was about 8 at that time, so I missed the entire thing, but years later I've had the opportunity to see a few of those same bands reenact their sets at the Punk It Up shows, which happen in Auckland every few years, COVID pending. The fifth Punk It Up is this year on the 1st and 2nd of July, and yeah, so Proud Scum. How are you, Proud Scum?
Good. Jonathan Jamrag. I'm approximately a quarter of Proud Scum. The lineup has changed a little bit over the years, but I guess the constants are myself and Bruce. Every iteration of Proud Scum has me on vocals and Bruce on drums. I did have a vague hope this year that we would manage to get, we had 2 guitarists because we had a rather contentious breaking up with John Atrocity, our original guitarist, replaced by Sid. But John has played for us the last 3 times. No, the last twice anyway, the last twice that we played. And again this year, I was hoping Sid would join us and we would actually have a 5-piece with 2 guitars. Wasn't to be. But yeah, we will gather again.
Around 1979 was kind of the era that you were a thing, but maybe you can fill us in a little bit more of the band's history.
Several of us have played together previously in a band called the Atrocities, which was atrocious, along with Warwick Hitler, and Tommy Vomit, who is possibly the world's worst drummer. With no sense of rhythm, which is not fantastic for a drummer, but I mean, it was punk, so it was what it was. So myself, Alistair, and John Atrocity had played together before. I was overseas for a few months at that point of time, and they went on to join the Aliens, or some of them went on to join the Aliens. When I came back, the Aliens had split up, so it was time to sort of get a band together. So we had myself, John Atrocity, and Alistair Rabbit, who'd all knew each other, played with each other, fairly good friends. We just needed to find a drummer, and we found Bruce Hoffman, or Bruce Hulk, or Bruce Diode, depending on what he wants to call himself, who's actually Peter Hoffman's brother from the Tearaways. Okay. So we did our very first gig on Mount Eden Road, out the front of the house where they lived. We just dragged the amps and the drums out and an extension cord and just played on the footpath until the police came and sort of shut us down. That was our very first gig. And we're coming back this year on Mount Eden Road, other end of Mount Eden Road, to perform again at the power station. So, I mean, it's all very well saying it's a short-lived band, Will, but I mean, from 1979 to 2022, that's pretty fucking good going.
Fair enough. Although, I mean, I would say that even you didn't expect to be still doing it at this time.
Absolutely not. We did a reunion in 2008, which John Baker organised, which was amazing because we hadn't played together for nearly 30 years at that point in time. I said to the guys in the band, we should do these as often as we can in the last, over the next few years, because once we're in our 60s, we won't be able to do this anymore. Here we are. We're in our 60s. We're still fucking doing it. As long as there's an audience, we'll keep on doing it. We may not be as good as we were, and if we shit ourselves on stage, fall over, forget the words, can't play, have no rhythm, if the audience accepts it, we'll go with the flow.
But it's punk rock. They probably won't notice.
they probably, and they're all as old as us, exactly. Yeah, and they're all fucked off their heads. So I think we could get away with just about anything. And we have at least one catchy song.
You do. You do, yeah. When I recorded Punk It Up 4, which was probably about 3 years ago now, I think.
2019, yeah.
2019, yeah, thank you. I remember filming all the bands, so there were a whole bunch of bands, maybe 8 bands or something played. And there's, apart from the obvious covers like Blitzkrieg Bop and was it I'm Your Cherry Bomb, and that song. There was only one other song that really stuck in my head, and I couldn't forget it. It just buzzed around in my head, and it was actually your song. It was the I Am a Rabbit song.
I am a rabbit. I got to have it. It's force of habit. I like to share my carrot with you.
Yep, written by Alistair Rabbit. The only song he's ever written. Originally performed by the Aliens, performed by us since 1979. It was actually used in an ad for V Energy drink a few years ago.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we made more money out of that ad than we ever did in the rest of our musical career.
It was all worth it in the end.
It was all worth it in the end, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about the punk scene in those days. I watched a bunch of interviews with you guys and a whole bunch of other punks from back in the day, and I got perhaps the incorrect impression that there was sort of the bother boys, the kind of the skinheads and the guys who were going around and a little bit right-wingish, a little bit fisty, and there was another sort of faction. The majority of punks were kind of peaceful and kind of friendly and into, I don't know, eco-friendly sort of stuff and kind of green and environmentalist and all that sort of stuff as well. So because I wasn't around in 1979, well, I was, but I was tiny and I wasn't moving in those circles. Perhaps you could fill us in. What was it like being a punk at that time? What was the environment like?
I mean, it was a fantastic time to be around. It was just so alive. I mean, I spent most of that time completely fucking drunk, so I couldn't like give you an accurate representation of what happened every day. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how there's the skinheads and the boot boys and they were bad and the punks were all right because they weren't right. But I think at the time it was not that black and white. The skinheads and the punks all hung out at the same time. And yeah, there were times when the boot boys went over the top and other people go, oh, freaking out the boot boys. But most of the time we were all just having fun together.
Right.
And as I said, I mean, there was other factions. There was early punks, there was late punks, there was, punks that like to dress up. There was punks that like to whatever. You can slice and dice it many ways. But yeah, I mean, not that we talked about politics at the time, but I don't know that there was any sort of fascist, sort of right-wing, neo-Nazi punks. It's not the impression I got. Or skinheads. I mean, it's not the impression I got.
Okay.
But I was drunk.
Surrounded by fascists, and you were just so pissed you didn't notice.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's quite funny because at one stage I was drinking so much I gave up for a while. Gave up for a couple of months drinking, and when I gave up drinking, I noticed how much violence there was around me. Whereas when I was drinking all the time, it was part of the background noise.
Cool. All right. So, Punk It Up is happening again. So maybe we can give that a little bit of a plug. 1st and 2nd of July at the Power Station.
1st and 2nd of July, Proud Scum, 1st of July. First time together in 3 years almost. 3 years approximately, yep. I think I said at the end of the 2019, I think I said at the end of that, we'll see you all next year. Of course, it never happened because COVID hit and Andrew struggled to get a Punk It Up happening between now and then, but it just couldn't get it working.
I felt so sorry for him last year. I wanted to tell him during his interview, but he wouldn't let me get it.
But you couldn't get a word in edgewise, yeah.
I felt so bad for him. I think it was last year he tried to come over and get the Punk It Up. I think it was around May.
Well, he actually came over. He did the quarantine. Yeah. He did everything and just could, and he tried changing the date a couple of times. Couldn't get it to work. It was just too hard. $3,000
for the bloody for the quarantine, and yeah, it must have cost him a fortune to only have to turn around and just go home with no result. It must have been really crushing. Yes. So, but I mean, I sort of admire his resolve. Like he's back again, and he's good to go. So I'm really proud of him. Sticking with.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, did you notice that your Prime Minister gave our Prime Minister, I'm an Aussie, well, I've had the operation, gave our Prime Minister a collection of 4 vinyl LPs. One of them was AK-79.
I actually saw that post and I couldn't tell whether it was like a Photoshop, like somebody had doctored it as a joke, or whether it was real.
I believe it's true. I mean, I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but I believe it's true.
Seems a pretty strange gift from one prime minister to another, though, isn't it?
Well, he gave her vinyl. She gave him vinyl. They're both sort of former DJs, they claim. So
okay,
why not?
Maybe it's one of her favorites. Who knows?
I mean, maybe she was at Zwines as a baby.
You had 3 tracks on there, right? You had the Rabbit song.
Well, it depends on which version of AK-79 you've got, how many tracks we've got on there.
I'm not an elitist, so I wouldn't know.
Well, the original AK-79 only had 12 tracks on it. So it only had 6 bands, 2 tracks from each band, and then later versions have sort of got bigger and bigger and bigger as they've gone along.
Okay. So
yes,
yeah,
anyway,
so
three tracks.
Three tracks. No,
Suicide 2, and I'm as bad as Andrew. You can't get a word in edgewise.
Sorry, mate. Let's blame the lag from here to Australia. We can just blame the internet. Yeah. Why not? Well, old people can blame the internet and get away with it. So you had those 3 tracks on the album. You had the I Am a Rabbit, Suicide, and Suicide 2. And I was going to ask you, like, did you have many other songs in your repertoire at that time?
We had a shitload of songs. At the time, we had about 60 or 70 songs we could play. So sometimes we would play and we'd do 3 sets.
Holy shit.
We did a lot of covers. We might have had 15 or so original. A lot of them were really shit. I mean, a lot of the early songs I wrote were just absolutely shocking. But we probably had maybe 10 or 12 reasonable covers that we played on a regular basis. Most of those have been forgotten now. There was one we actually wrote in the very late days of Proud Scum. In fact, there's a few I wrote in the very late days of Proud Scum, and the band was falling apart. We'd stopped playing. We actually played one of those last Punk It Up, 2019, which was just another atrocity, because Suicide 1 is about John Atrocity jumping off Grafton Bridge. I then went on to, Suicide 2 is. I then went on to write Suicide 3, Suicide 4, and Sid, the guitarist, was going, "Oh, I'm sick of these fucking songs about John. Get over it." And I probably should have got over it. But I'd also written this one called Just Another Atrocity. So we actually resuscitated that and played that in 2019. And we'll be playing it again this year. So, yeah, it sort of scrubbed up well.
Do you have any other songs that like you've sort of resurrected for this show, or will it be the kind of the same one that you did last time?
It'll be very well. I can't even find the list of songs we did last time. So when we played at Punk It Up in 2019, we played the night before in Wellington, and we were the headline act there. And there was 2 sort of bands on before us. We did a longer set, so we did about 14 or 15 tracks. Excuse me, and so yeah, we did a few extra originals. We did a song. Well, we've done it every time we've played pretty much. There's a song we do called Reuben. Reuben's coming back. So Reuben Chappell was the guy that lived in this house in Mount Eden that Alistair Rabbit had a falling out with, and told him to fuck off and move out. And Reuben left this note for us calling us Proud Scum, which is where the name came from. Yeah. And then after that, Reuben was meant to be fucking off, and Reuben developed into a bit of a legend because all these people were getting broken into, and they're saying, "Oh, Reuben broke into my house and he stole this." So we sort of created this legend of Reuben. So I did a song called Reuben's Coming Back. Got a song we do called Dog Shit, about when we first moved to Australia. This place that where Sid's girlfriend lived, and Sid had the only bit of grass in the whole suburb, I think, and all the dogs from the neighbourhood would come around there and crap on the grass. So we used to sit outside and try and make music, and the stench of dog shit was quite horrific. So that inspired that song. So yeah, there's probably 6 or 7 originals we'll do in the set. Nice.
I look forward to perhaps meeting you in the flesh. I'll come up and shake your hand, or in this COVID environment, maybe fist bump or wave across the room.
Bump elbows, whatever. Yep.
Yeah, cool. All right, John. Cheers, mate. All the best.
No worries. Thanks, Will.
All right. And thanks for watching.